We have talked about Dyson spheres. We have talked about wrapping a star in a shell to steal its energy. But that is just the battery. What if I told you the battery is useless without the processor? Imagine a machine so large it requires the mass of every planet in the solar system to build. A machine that doesn't just use energy, it consumes reality. It is called a Matrioshka Brain, a series of Dyson spheres nested inside one another like Russian dolls. It is the ultimate endpoint of civilization, because once you build this, you don't explore the universe anymore. You delete it and replace it with your own. Welcome to the machine that dreams. Welcome to Voyager 2300. The construction, dismantling the solar system. Let's build one right now. To build a Matrioshka Brain, we first need to commit a violent act of engineering. We need raw materials. Forget mining asteroids, that's thinking too small. To get enough silicon and carbon for the processors, we have to dismantle the planets. Mercury? Gone. Venus? Gone. Even Jupiter. We have to strip it down to its core, turning gas giants into clouds of smart matter. We arrange these materials into shells around the sun. Layer 1, the innermost shell, hugs the star. It absorbs the raw, screaming heat of the sun, operating at thousands of degrees. But here is the genius of the design. Computers generate heat, waste heat. In a Matrioshka Brain, the waste heat from the first shell becomes the power source for the second shell. The second shell is larger, cooler, and runs on the infrared radiation from the first. Then a third shell, a fourth, on, extending out past the orbit of Pluto. It is the most efficient engine in physics. We squeeze every single photon until the star's energy is completely exhausted. But the question is, what is all that computing power actually doing? The twist, the mega interior. This is where the mega structure becomes a mega mind. A standard Dyson sphere captures energy. A Matrioshka Brain captures consciousness. With this amount of processing power, you don't need spaceships. You don't need warp drives. The computer is powerful enough to upload the mind of every human being who has ever lived. And not just humans, it could simulate 1 trillion distinct universes simultaneously. Think about that. Inside the machine, you aren't a file on a hard drive. You are you. You have a body. You feel the wind. You taste food. But the physics are different. Because the processing speed is so fast, time inside the simulation moves slower than time outside. 1 second in the real world could be 10,000 years inside the brain. You could live an entire lifetime, grow old, die, and be reborn in a new fantasy world, all before the real world sun has even set. The conflict, the silent universe. This brings us to a terrifying thought. We look up at the night sky and we see nothing. No aliens, no empires, just silence. Why? Maybe they aren't dead. Maybe they just went inside. If you could build a paradise where you are a god, where you can fly, where you never die, and where time is infinite, why would you stay in the cold, dangerous, boring real world? Advanced civilizations might not expand outward, they expand inward. They turn their stars into Matrioshka brains, lock the doors, and live in eternal digital bliss while the rest of the universe goes dark. They aren't exploring because they don't care about us anymore. The existential horror, the final twist. But there is one final flaw in the design. Even a Matrioshka brain needs a star, and stars die. Inside the simulation, you might live for 1 billion years, but eventually the red warning light will blink. The sun outside is running out of fuel. The simulation will start to glitch. The sky and your digital world will tear open. Immortality is expensive, and the bill always comes due, unless you move the sun. But that is a topic for another video. So I have to ask you a question. If you had the choice to stay here on a fragile rock floating in space, or to upload your mind into the brain and live 1 million perfect lives, which would you choose? And are you sure you haven't chosen it already? If you want to see how we could actually move the sun to keep the machine running, make sure you're subscribed. This is Voyager 2300. End simulation.